who's the guy that's going to sleep with your girlfriend behind your back? It's not the guy that's hitting on her. You know how your girlfriend says, don't worry, babe, he's not hitting on me. Any guy that hits on your girlfriend is not going to sleep with her. It's the guy who actually friendship zones himself with your girlfriend. Now, you know how the stereotype is that the friendship zone is bad. Oh my God, it's bad to be in the friendship zone. That is true for a guy who's operating at a low level. But if a guy who's operating at a high level puts your girlfriend in the friendship zone, all that it looks like is that she's not good enough for him.
Okay, so before we get into the meat and potatoes, which is the importance of the friendship zone or friend zone, whatever you want to call it, I just wanted to quickly clarify what he meant when he said it's not the guy who is hitting on her. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not the guy who is hitting on her. It's actually the guy she is hitting on. In a previous video, I showed you guys that the woman is attracted to the actions of a man who is pulling away because it draws her in. She's not attracted to the actions of a guy who pushes towards her because it literally pushes her away. It removes the space for the woman to operate in. Now, when I say this, I know this demotivates the men who have no idea how to be seductive enough or charming enough to pull away, and it actually works because they have only learned how to JesterMaxx to get women. I can't lie, guys, I hate the black pill community and all of their words, but the term JesterMaxx is hilarious, so I'm going to start using it. So for the JesterMaxxers, I want you to fix this into your intellect and then we will move on. When you push towards a woman, you always lose points. So let's say you lose 2 points for every push action, but you need to push in order to achieve certain things, and you will accidentally push when you begin to really like her. I call these compulsive pushes. But when you pull away, you gain 4 points. So when you push, you lose 2 points. And when you pull away, you gain 4 points. So you need to be strategic when you push, because when you push, you will lose points. And when you get very good at this, push and pull balance, when you get to an elite level at least, then you can get away with being goofy. You can get away with making a lot of mistakes. You can get away with yapping. And you can actually be yourself because of the sheer amount of points you have already accrued. But anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes and discuss the friend zone.
So there's 2 different kinds of friendship zones. Here, turn that off. The friendship zone that is from the guy who can't actually get the kind of attention that he wants from the girl, so becomes her friend as a way to get at least some attention, right? Like, he really wants to date her, but she won't date him, so he's like, I'm your friend, right? And then he has to endure stories. So he now has to endure, like, her getting fucked by other guys and having to hear about it and so on and so forth, right? That would be the bad friendship zone. The good friendship zone, though, is when it's clear that that guy dates prettier girls than her, more attractive girls than her, and so he doesn't even want anything. And here's the rub, okay, if you want to know how this really works. The guy who she's with is going to be more likely to be jealous and insecure around her because he's invested in her. He's put in time, emotions, energy, money, focus into that girl. So he actually has an outcome with her. The guy that just invited her out to some stupid little friends gathering has no investment. He's not jealous. He's not insecure. He's just having fun. He doesn't give a fuck.
Okay, so there are 2 types of friend zones. The one where the woman friend zones you, and the one where you friend zone the woman. When I was younger, I used to deal with women in a very funny and direct way. I used to be very forward with women and be very clear about my intentions to sleep with them. I'm a black guy that does what he wants. I'm a nonconformist, all of those things. So I represent the taboo and the type of man a woman should avoid. I used to use that to my advantage because women were not expecting me to JesterMaxx and perform for them. They were expecting me to be very forward and expedient, and I was. And that would work very well for me because I was actually meeting their expectations and playing my role. So I was meeting their fantasy. But as I got older, I no longer wanted to act this way towards women. It works, but it was no longer matching my values or the man I wanted to become. So I started friend zoning women instead. I did this so that I can focus on myself and my goals, and so that I could use the energy I had left to actually focus on the women or woman I actually liked. Now, fellas, I was actually surprised with how incredibly seductive this was to the women I had friend zoned. And I learned just how much space this created. Space that the woman would use to seduce me and attempt to win me over. The women identified that I had held other women in higher regard, and I was doing to them what they do to men, which was controlling them. I'll say that again, which was controlling them and forcing them to play a role that I had assigned for them, which was the role of a friend and not a lover, because I was already receiving love elsewhere. To a woman, this is a form of pulling away. I'll say that again. This is a form of pulling away. And as I said, when you pull away, you simply leave space for the woman to push towards you. And when you push towards her, you remove the space the woman would use to see if she can win you over. This happened with every single woman I friend zoned, regardless if they liked me at first or not. So I learned that friend zoning women is a spell. It literally compels her to push towards you. And it always makes her feel as if she is falling in love with you. It always makes her feel as if you are of higher value. Let's listen some more, and then I will delve even deeper.
And here's the rub, okay, if you want to know how this really works. The guy who she's with is going to be more likely to be jealous and insecure around her because he's invested in her. He's put in time, emotions, energy, money, focus into that girl. So he actually has an outcome with her. The guy that just invited her out to some stupid little friends gathering has no investment. He's not jealous. He's not insecure. He's just having fun. He doesn't give a fuck. So as a result, ironically, and this is kind of sad to think about, but actually his lack of investment in her is what causes him to look cooler than her boyfriend. So often what will then happen is that girl will think, that guy would date me, like he would date me. And so she winds up sleeping with him. And then she goes back and eventually dumps her boyfriend. And that guy, of course, will, he's basically just going to hook up with her only a couple times, have no investment whatsoever, and then just keep it moving. But she doesn't know that. And so then she winds up not realizing that guy is actually doesn't take her serious at all. So ironically, that guy that was a bit insecure around her and a bit jealous around her actually was the better guy. If I was a girl, I'd want a guy a bit insecure and jealous because that shows he's invested. But the point is that the other guy's not, so he hooks up with her.
So, fellas, this is the reason why I try to encourage you guys to not judge the player archetypes as harshly as you guys judge the player archetypes. I know a lot of men judge player archetypes because of jealousy and envy, but then there are a lot of men who judge the player archetypes because they think that they are very, very immoral. But the truth is, 9 times out of 10, it is all the woman's doing. It is all the woman's doing. Nearly every girl I've slept with has had a boyfriend, right? But the reason why I slept with this woman is because I actually wanted her to be my friend. I'll say that again. I actually wanted her to be my friend, right? Like I as a man, there's only so much romance that I am interested in. There's only so many women I would like to have chemistry with. Outside of that, there are other roles that I would want in my own life. And this goes for a lot of men who are really, really good with women. Women can make very, very good friends. It's just that, unfortunately, this always kickstarts the romantic and seductive journey for the woman. The fact that a man has assigned her into the role of the friend. The man is controlling her when she is so used to controlling the man, right? And so for me, the reason why I always coach men to friend zone women is because it is the best way for you to provide the correct space for the woman for her to seduce you as the man. And so I've used this technique to actually, for example, at my age now, because I'm an older man, because I have children, there's a certain way that I want to carry myself. And I always coach you guys. I never hand any power over to women when I first meet them. I never do. I don't take women out on dates. I don't even initiate anything. Something that I always try to teach you guys. Now, this is hard, and this is the reason why I don't talk about it a lot, because you actually need a lot of social skills. You need a lot of charm, and you need a lot of charisma to be able to pull this off. This is not something that is easy to coach. So, I would only coach a certain type of a man who is good with his mouth. I'll only coach a certain type of a man this technique, because as I said, it's actually very, very hard. You need to be good at a lot of things. So, for example, personally, if I wanted to deal with a woman, what I do is I'm able to communicate with a woman in a way to where she doesn't know whether I like her or whether I'm just being friendly towards her. I'll say that again. She doesn't know whether I like her or I'm just being friendly towards her, because I am very charismatic. And if we are in a public setting, she will see that I'm acting towards her the same ways that I'm acting towards other people. I'm just a social person. I'm a funny person. If you make a woman laugh, she's going to like you. If you can make a woman belly laugh, she's going to like you. So if you can make a woman feel good in your presence, she's going to like you. But these are the same things that I'm going to do with other men that I think are cool and just anybody that I'm around. This is the same kind of behavior I display in front of my sisters and my family members, my peers. I am how I am with everybody. So the woman feels a pull towards you. She senses your value, but she's unclear whether you like her or you're just being friendly with her. And these are the types of techniques that create so much space for the woman to fantasize, for the woman to ponder, for the woman to make inquiries about you, for the woman to want to unravel you and look into you. And that's the space that's required for the woman to use her tools, use her techniques, her competencies, her seduction skills, her beauty, her tactics to see if she can win you over. Remember, I always say men play video games and women play games with men. Women are very, very interested in seeing how she can influence and manipulate other people, especially men. So 9 times out of 10, when I do this with a woman, when I friend zone a woman, she is compelled to see if she can win me over. And she's going to do this regardless if she likes me or not. It's just that space that I've created for her. It's just the fact that I've assigned a role to her when she was unable to assign a role to me. Does that make sense? I've assigned a role to her. I've boxed her. With women, you got to understand, women don't fall in line with hierarchies like us men do. Women don't fall in line to order like us men do. I always say that men are in fact the submissive gender. Women are not submissive. They're not submissive men. We are submissive. We like to submit to higher powers. Women don't like to do that. Women are more interested in social maneuverability and freedom. So women are always bending the rules and maneuvering in ways that a man is just not used to. So when a woman is put into a position like that, she wants to see if she can change that dynamic or flip that dynamic on her head. This has got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with her. And so I say all of this to say this. When you're dealing with women, you want to find ways to deal with them without JesterMaxxing. You want to find ways to deal with women without JesterMaxxing. And the thing about the JesterMaxxer is that his perception of time is always very, very short. Because he's motivated by lust, which is a sexual energy, he is trying to achieve something with her very, very quickly. The beauty of the friend zone is that you're not actually pushing or moving the direction of the friendship anywhere. You're not moving things forward in any way, shape, or form. So that creates the space for the woman to now begin to operate and try to move the relationship in the ways that she wants to move the relationship. This is what I call long-term game. Right? But you guys have to understand what I'm saying here. If the woman has friend zoned you, it's an issue because you're just being passive and almost waiting for an opportunity to come. The woman can sense that. And so the woman doesn't like short-term game and doesn't like passive men who reluctantly plays a long form of a game. What the woman identifies as high value are men who play the long game. All right. And the woman will perceive a man playing the long game if he has no desire to move the relationship forward. So you could not even be playing a long game. You could literally just assign her as a friend. But because you're not moving the relationship in any kind of direction, this compels her to be able to do that. All right. And it's actually, in fact, women who derive a greater sense of pleasure and reward through moving the relationship in a linear type of way. The woman derives pleasure from moving relationships towards a closer sense of a union. And you guys, you just don't provide the women the opportunity or the space to be able to do that. You guys are always pushing. You guys are always JesterMaxxing, because there's a time limit. Because you're motivated by lust. You really want to have this outcome with her. And that's what takes away your power. When you friend zone women, but you're not a man who is lacking. So like the fella in the video said, when you're operating at a higher level, so you're not lacking anything. You have all of the meaning and fulfillment you want. And hence why you've assigned a role for her to play in your already meaningful and fulfilled life. She understands that, wow, you're not moving anything forward with me because you have all of the things that you already want. All of these things communicate high value to her. What you guys need to understand, right, is that there is nothing more innocuous. There's nothing more of a gray area. There is nothing that can provide a woman with more plausible deniability than a friend. All right. Oh, no, don't worry about it. It's just a friend. Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a business partner. Oh, don't worry about it. That's just a brother to me. Don't worry about it. I'm like a sister towards him. It's just plausible deniability. And what this does, the role of the friend, it doesn't put any pressure or anxiety onto women. Women do not like pressure and anxiety. This is the reason why I always advise you guys to not take women out on dates and formalize the romantic process with a woman in any way, shape, or form. Never do that. I say to all of my clients, when I was younger, I'd never take women out on dates. I would make a woman follow me on errands. Again, this is such a gray area. Does he fancy me? And this is the reason why he's asking me to come with him on errands. Or does he just see me as a friend? And this is the reason why he's asking me to come along with him on errands. It doesn't quite matter. This role, when you friend zone a woman, she's able to observe you. She's able to observe you and see your actions and behaviors with you. So one-on-one in a POV setting and in third person. So how you interact with other men and other women, and how do these other men and other women perceive you? And so this is how true player archetypes build massive rotations of women, right? When I was doing my stuff back in the day, I had rotations that grew to 10, 15 women. Because, as I said to you guys, I would friend zone the women that I didn't have time to focus on. I've already got chemistry and romantic connection with these women, and I don't have any more space for that. Like, you could be a friend. And what I would do when I friend zone a woman is that I would kind of ignore her advances. I would kind of ignore her flirtations. And sometimes when she was trying to flirt with me or do a certain type of thing, I would pretend like I didn't see it. Or I would pretend like I'm none the wiser to her advances, but just simply because, that's not the role I assigned for her. And this is incredibly seductive to women, fellas. Incredibly seductive. The woman will fall in love with you as her friend. And as the fella in the video said, the woman will end up breaking up with her boyfriend so she can fully put her energy into you. You know, and then what would happen is that an opportunity will arise to where she very, very directly sleeps with you. Or an opportunity will arise to where it just feels right. There's something called destiny, you know, and there is nature takes over, your subconscious takes over. There are these moments to where things just feel right. The reproduction forces feel right. You know, so these opportunities will arise, right, to where she initiates something with you, or where you feel a natural and smooth desire to initiate something with her. You know, that's where you kiss her, or that's where, well, usually, yeah, that's where you kiss her or something like that. I don't know. You know, I don't like to get so technical with telling you guys what to do here, because nature's a beautiful thing. And there's so many extraneous variables that come to when a man and a woman comes together. There are ways to influence it. So 9 times out of 10, what I've seen is, you know, a woman will try to get you drunk or something like that, or try to smoke with you or do something, you know, that she will create the circumstances her own self, right? But for you to probably initiate that kiss, for example. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Them circumstances she creates where her eyes, she's really close to you and her eyes are twinkling. And she's kind of like looking at your lips or something. All right, I don't need to make that into a mathematics. Just we've been procreating for hundreds of thousands of years. All right, we were doing this when we were animals and we couldn't talk. It's not that complicated. You'll be surprised with the amount of energy and effort she will put in to wanting to sleep with you. You know, because she's trying everything to try and change that dynamic to see if she can win you over. And the chances are she's already seen, as your friend, because she's your friend, she gets to be around you. So the friendship creates proximity. All right. So she gets to be around you and there's this level of closeness. But the fact that you've assigned that role for her as the friend, you friend zone her, that gives her all of the space for her to actually try to win you over. You know, so eventually she's going to try everything within her power to win you over, you know. And as I said, as she's been observing you, she's seen all of the qualities she needs to know. She's gotten so close to you without any pressure or anxiety, and more importantly, without you pushing in any way, shape or form. And when you've friend-zoned a woman, right, you can push and she won't even notice it, because as I said, it's in this gray area of her not knowing whether you like her or whether you're just being friendly. It's this gray area, you know, and you can have this gray area with women whilst they know that you're attracted to them. That's even more higher value, fellas, right? She knows that you're attracted to her, but you've just simply assigned this role for her because you've already, your capacity is full. You know, other women that you've placed in higher regard are already playing that role. There's already a queue of other women who is playing that role. You know, you just want to be friends with her, right? Because of her values and her qualities and stuff like that. And you can joke around with her and you can say to her stuff like, you know, if he wasn't doing the thing of X, Y, and Z, if he wasn't so focused, if you didn't get all these things going on, right, then me and her, then you and her can do a thing. It just leaves all of this area for you to be able to operate seductively. You know, doing all these things that you are pulling away without the woman even realizing you're pulling away, you know, and it leaves all this room for her to push towards you, for her to JesterMaxx towards you. And you can do all of this by simply friend zoning her, guys. Just that simple. All right. If you guys want any coaching on this one, send me an email. As I said, I'm still ill. So thank you guys. All of the emails that have been sent to me, I will get through to you guys as soon as I feel better. All right, I am still ill and stuff like that. But if you need any more coaching on this, send me an email. This is very, 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 very important. And as I said, this is how I would deal with women in today's climate and just at my age. It is incredibly effective. I didn't realize how effective it was when I was younger. When I was younger, I used to friend zone women all the time as well, but it wasn't something that I was really conscious to. Because as I said, I used to prefer a much more direct and forward way of dealing with women because I was very lustful and I wanted to sleep with women as soon as possible and as often as possible. So I had another way, and that works. But as I said, it doesn't match my values at my age now. It's not something that I would like to do. I'm 33 years old as well, you know, and it's just not, there's a lot of consequences for that way of dealing. Let me add one more caveat before I go. I missed this one out, all right? When you friend zone a woman, if you're going to go down the path of friend zoning a woman, you need to have a lot of red flags. You need to have a lot of red flags, all right? Don't friend zone a woman and act as this perfect green flag guy. No, that doesn't work. You want to friend zone women, and you need to be like a red flag guy, if that makes sense, all right? Because what's going to happen is you're going to be arousing her and arousing her and arousing her as a friend. Her hearing your stories, her hearing how you carry yourself, her hearing how, you know, just you want to come across as interesting. You know, you want to be like this book she can open up every now and again and she can kind of, you know, chapter 20, and you are arousing her, you are interesting, you are funny. And then what happens, as I always say, is when you lead with your red flag, women are obsessed with uncovering your true colors. Women are obsessed with unraveling who you are. She believes that there are two sides to everybody, and there is, right? There's always two sides of a coin, and she believes that how someone presents themselves isn't actually who they are. Who they secretly are is the opposite of how they present themselves, if that makes sense, right? So typically what happens is, what you want to do is you want to lead with your red flags, but you want to have certain green flag qualities that are really high. So, for example, you want to have a lot of empathy. You want to be a very fair person as well. Maybe a very honest, truthful person, right? Maybe a very merciful person as well. You want to have these qualities, right? These green flags. And what happens is that when you expose her to your red flags, it's almost like you don't have any flaws then, because a true flaw is a flaw that the woman has to uncover for herself. That's what recognizes as a true flaw. But if you lead with these flaws, then it's like you don't have the flaw because you're so self-aware of the flaw. Actually, you own the flaws. So you almost don't have any flaws. And it kind of leads her with trying to unravel all of the better sides and the better qualities to you that maybe she thinks that you're not presenting to her, if that makes sense. And this is how you come across as very endearing to a woman. So if you're going to friend zone a woman, also make sure that you lead with your red flags as well. Don't friend zone a woman and you're just this boring, one-dimensional guy. You know, make there be different dimensions to who you are. You know, like, you know, friend zone a woman and you need to be coming under the category of like a villain or an anti-hero, you know. And what's so cool about the villain and the anti-hero is that they really do have all of these great qualities. You know, when you're friend zoning her as well, she's just going to believe that you're withholding these great green flag qualities away from her. And only a special select few has these. And she's going to be very, very interested in one day you turning that onto her and you holding her in higher regard, if that makes sense. Guys, please continue to support the channel. Please leave a like, leave a comment, sign up for one-on-one coaching, fellas.